All right, I think we're good. Adam.
All right. Hello, everyone. Um, Thank you for doing this. Are you all able to see, are you able to see my cursor moving around here?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, gotta come change game screen. Okay. I'll get to the first one real quick here. And I'm going to focus. This is a presentation I do normally for about a 45-minute, but I kind of split it up with half about what we do in terms of reducing moisture in roof systems, and the other half being what we do in terms of location of moisture. So, I got started in this industry about 15 years ago now. Came in. I've always kind of been an entrepreneur and looked for things that were broken and tried to fix them and make them better. And I think that's kind of how I got here. Started off doing the storm stuff, and then quickly went into building a commercial roofing brand for another company out of Ohio. Would end up buying a company down here in Nashville as well. So, I've always kind of seen that our role as roofing professionals is centering around building strong relationships and impacting our clients.
Adam, your audio is really low. Can you just check and see that if you have any papers over your microphone or anything?
Is it? Okay. Is that better?
Okay.
Is that better?
That is, yeah. A little bit, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Let me know if it goes low again. Anyhow, so really what I wanted to bring to you all today was I want to show you our solution for moisture in the substrate and get your all's let this be something that you all can take to market, or at least you can discuss with the contracting community. Hopefully you see that it's valuable enough to do that. So where I began with this was in 2018. Had about a $1.5 million coating job that was lined up. We would make, we were charging about $3 a foot. We planned to make around $450 on it. And we had the contract. It was ours to lose. I knew the owner. It was great. We got the contract, and then we paid about $10,000 for a thermal scan. And what that would end up revealing is 100,000 square feet of wet insulation. And that 100,000 feet would kill the deal. So the owner told me he would pay me $350,000 to remove and replace it. I had no other options at the time, and he walked away when I said this is going to be closer to $1 million. As the story normally goes, 5 months later, I drive by and there are line sets and hoses and roofers on the roof, and there is a company spraying the roof with silicone. And it was at that point I learned that I should never talk about wet roof insulation. I kid. But I did think to myself, like, it's either talk about it or do something about it. And really, obviously, where we went to is, my thought was it's very rare that you get someone telling you what the value is to them to prevent a problem in the future. And he told me it was $3.50 a foot, and that always stuck with me. And so I really started exploring solutions for contractors that we could reduce it down that much, going from $8 to $10 a square foot to being able to reduce it down to a more manageable cost. And the thought being, if we reduce it down, we don't have to worry about it being as big of a problem to the buyer. So we go to IRE last year. We had really rolled this out. I did some testing on my roofs. I knew it worked. We solidified the vent, got all the patent stuff in place, and we go to market. IRE 2024, here we come. The booth's great, 220 leads, all qualified. It was fantastic, right? Phone's going to be ringing off the hook, and we got 0 orders. 0 orders. And we were pretty stumped, honestly, because everyone said this is a great idea. The industry's needed this. You've got evidence of it. We love your business model. And so the question was, why weren't they buying? And so I started calling people up, and I figured out pretty quickly the reason they weren't buying is they weren't locating moisture. And as an industry, we are reacting to moisture in the substrate more than we are proactively managing it. And we had been on the quest to identify it and quantify moisture as well. in these roof systems, because I thought if we're going to warrant that we're going to dry out roofs, we better know what dry means. And so that quest kind of evolved into us having a different process. And that is really where I think the action can be taken today. And you all, regardless of what your risk tolerance is, and I will be the first one to say up front, I understand if you're not comfortable drying a roof out on a property. It is a different process, and I get it. But on the moisture detection side, we can all agree moisture detection matters. Every single one of us knows that. We agree with it. Our manufacturers do, even our owners do. And so we really started to connect with contractors on moisture detection. And I was saying before a handful of you all got in here, I'm going to try to keep myself from nerding out about this and stay a little bit wider than I go deep. But there is a lot of depth to everything I'm about to tell you all when it comes to moisture in the substrate. There's a couple QR codes. Feel free to scan them if you want to set up a meeting with me along the way, and we can take a deeper dive. So really, the 4 pillars that we have are identify, which is where our ReDry Ready contractor program comes in. Selling the job, which is part of helping our contractors be more successful, and remediating the moisture and removing the vents from the roof. So on identifying, this is for me the foundation of credibility and profit with your owner. If I had had this process, I never would have spent $10,000 to learn that I killed my contract. So at this point, this to me is where we should all be existing. And the unfortunate fact is, out of the hundreds of contractors I've talked to, there have only been a handful, I can count them on both hands, that tell me the bids will not go out the door without a moisture scan. And I will freely admit to all of you that bids went out our doors when on my contracting company without moisture scans too. So I pass no judgment. I think there's really good reason in this industry why that takes place. However, and this is something that came to me honestly when I was putting these together, is this line of like, son, let me tell you something. If you're going to be a source of the problem, you better be the solution too. Like, that just sounds like something my granddad probably told me as I was tearing up his house at 11 years old. And so, but it is really true. There's a whole lot of fact to the thing. Like, don't do a moisture scan if you don't have a solution for it that's going to be within your client's budget. So I would encourage you all, if you take nothing else away from this and you just say, man, I really like that moisture detection side, I would encourage you still to make sure that you have alignment with that owner, and to train salespeople to have alignment with your owner prior to doing the moisture scan. So even if it doesn't cost you anything, and that's our goal, is for this to cost you nothing moving forward to do moisture scanning. We don't want you to try to go an extra mile that doesn't matter. And the way that you can do that is a very simple conversation where you control it. So before you go make a mess, make sure that your solution is going to work too for the client. They can afford it. I've been told to put this is something that everybody kind of needed. So this is one I just tossed together honestly before this call, but this is an overview of the entire process of how ReDry works. We have a bid opportunity for the contractor. This is the contractor gets a bid opportunity. They perform a moisture scan. We come in with a ReDry bid after the moisture scan. This can be nuclear, this can be thermal, or this can be the ReDry method. You all go and close, or the contractor closes the contract on this along with us in tow. They've marked up our price, made some money themselves. And then the contractor will install the roof and the two-way vents. At that point, we come in and we install the rapid vent on top, and we remove it whenever we're done getting the roof dry. So what is the rapid vent? You can see behind me, actually, this is without the two-way vent on it. So what you see here is the full unit that would be installed. You flash them in just like a two-way vent. And we go through this process. This is a little bit more detail, but once there's an authorized proposal, then we have the install. We have install of the two-way vents that we send you. You install the new roof system, you call us and let us know when you're done, and then we'll come out and we'll install the vents. We manage it from there. I'll skip through that for now. Okay, so there's a couple of things that I think make this part unique. One is we are completely reusable. We are a zero waste manufacturing. We have no waste and we reuse all the parts. So we do not, unless something were to break, we do not ever throw away an entire vent. We keep it. We are incredibly environmentally friendly, saving millions of square feet of insulation from landfills. And there's a whole lot of reuse of existing material that I believe in the coming months and years, we're going to have a big push in the environmental space as well. And so if you have something that is that requires some environmental thought to it, we certainly are a great candidate there. Quality, obviously engineered without the E. At least you know that I actually typed this and this isn't AI, because AI would never miss the E in engineering, right? Like that's what misspelling is these days, Karen. It's the evidence that you did not AI generate. Anyway, it's super high quality. Part of the reason we have such high quality in these vents and the manufacturing of them, I mean, we've withstood 2.5-inch hailstorms without a single ding in these, without fracturing of the glass on the solar panel, any of that. Part of the reason is because we don't sell the vents. We sell the service to you all or to your contractors. So that's part of the business model as well. Part of the business model is, you know, we can make a better vent because we get to keep it and we get to keep using it. It's not a race to the bottom for us of how inexpensive can we make a vent that performs at the, you know, most tolerable level. We want to overperform, and in doing so, we get to move it more frequently, and that makes us more money. So, you know, if you don't believe in anything else, we can all believe in the almighty dollar. And powerful. It is a very powerful vent. We have the highest amount of power we can get out of it right now, but we have the ability to upgrade, and we can go over much larger pipes than a standard two-way vent with the same thing. If you have questions, that's going to be the end of this portion for the rapid vent. So if you want to take any notes or like jot down a couple of questions before I head into the moisture, what we're really doing is we're kind of moving from the back end solution now more to the front end detection. So so just to kind of like orient you so it doesn't feel like this is confusing, we're really moving to the front end of the process. But I want to restate, I know that this is a new technology. I am probably the biggest critic and the one that requires the most evidence out of our organization, more so than some of our clients and manufacturers even. So I understand risk tolerance on this. We put it on a lot of roofs before we even took it to market. However, this is something that I'm going to show you here that we did not invent the equipment on. We have just re-strategized the process in a way that gives the first moisture scan ever built specifically for the roofing industry. So this is designed with contractors in mind. Let's kind of start with like what we're doing. What are we doing right now, and how are we getting information at this point? And you can see it's really fractured. This is based on charting data from what our clients tell us on the phone. Obviously, I'm not going to go into who said what, but when we ask, we really give a total of 5 options that you can use for a moisture detection, not a moisture scan, but moisture detection. One, nuclear is obviously the least. You would expect that, I think. It's rarely used from what we're seeing. Thermography and core samples actually are pretty much neck and neck. I think a lot of that has to do with thermal drones coming on the market. But these are two that people are relying on pretty heavily. Impedance scanning is, you know, and that's the Tramex for those of you that are like, which one is that again? That's the green machine Tramex that may be frustrating you, but won't after you speak with me about it, because I'm going to set you right on how to use this thing, and we're gonna get you pointing in the right direction. But it's the green Tramex or the lawnmower, the deck scanner. So that's your impedance scanning. About 25% of the contractors we talk to are actually using this in some capacity. And then my favorite, because I'm from East Tennessee, I can say this, it's a done walked it. I done walked it. I just done walked it a lot of times. I walked a lot of roofs. And you know, I always ask if it's Doc Martens or, you know, or Red Wing boots that gets them the best feel for the moisture in the system, you know, because clearly, like, what moisture detection socks we go with next. I joke. I mean, I know that those of us, I mean, I've walked thousands myself, and I do know that there is a certain element of, like, yes, there are times you can walk on it. I also know from us being able to pick up on the minutia of moisture that oftentimes we can't. But like I say, I pass no judgment because I used to do this too. When do you do your scans? This is one I always like to kind of get a feel for, is like, when are you scanning? The biggest one is if we can. A GC or an architect or consultant has already done one, and it's part of the bid package. After contracting or after the contract comes in, sometimes prior, when I get the call saying, hey, are you sure we're not gonna have a change order on this? And then prior to roofing. So those are kind of, you know, from a, how many, get you a feel for how many people are saying what. So let's take a second and break down the 5 types. You know, you have the walked it, right? Walked it is not something that's going to be, we won't spend much time here because that's not acceptable if we were to go to court. And honestly, a lot of this matters when a roof fails and a warranty is no longer in place. A contractor has, you know, installed over a wet roof according to the manufacturer, and they're butting heads, and somebody's got to do something while the owner's leaking like crazy and getting more and more upset. So core samples and walked it won't hold up. So let's really focus on the 3 that will. Thermography will hold up. The issues that I always had with thermography is, here in Tennessee, in the summer, we can get afternoon showers that can cool the roof down. You know, in the winter, we often get clouds and not a whole lot of great days for thermography. The other part is that the more you learn about it, the more you know you don't know. I forget what paradox that is, but the more you learn, the more you know you used to know nothing, is very true in thermography. And I think that there's a lot of misreadings on it, but you also have to get up on the roof. So if you're doing these in the evening, sometimes the safety level of that is questionable. Nuclear sounds cool, but it's reading hydrogen atoms the substrate. And if you've ever done one, it takes a really long time to to narrow down the percentage of air to get to a statistically significant reading, to get within a 5% variance on reading.
Multiple bids.
Yeah,
With our methodology, we have figured out how to be highly visual with reports while keeping contractors from having to do them. Our contractors never do these reports. It's non-destructive outside of one pinprick. There's no certification required to do it. You can get ReDry ready, or you can get the equipment and watch our videos. So whether you choose to get certified with us or not, you can still do this, and I can talk you through it on the phone. We have data-backed results. We have actual real data about moisture in the substrate. So we are getting to a point where we can quantify the amount of moisture that's probably in that substrate. Based off this, we didn't invent any equipment. This is an accepted methodology. It's been here for years. And like I said, the reports are done for you. And we're showing contractors how to send a service tech out, sales guy out. Anyone can do this while they're walking the roof to do a takeoff. So pretty cool and really nice to be able to put it in-house. This isn't something where we're trying to, you know, we really want to see you guys being able to do this. So how do we go about it? One-time investment for the ReDry Moisture Kit from Tramex. We've already got the discount applied to it from Tramex, so we've got a kit just for roofing companies. Request a grid from us. So these grids, oops, let me click that link again. Yep. It's not gonna let me do it. Okay. Well, I'll send you all this. I can send this to you all. I'll send this to Karen. She can forward it out to everybody. So you can see the example report and all that. You can get about 35,000 feet an hour if you're mapping every square. So it is really quick. If you want to go bigger than every square, you can get a lot more done. A lot more done. Once you're done and you have our grid and you've put your numbers in 1 through 10, you text me that picture and you get a really elegant looking report that comes back that's easy to read. And so if any of you all find me on LinkedIn, my whole thing is like moisture scans that make sense. And that's really where I felt like this is so valuable, is when we do a moisture scan for a client and they understand it, it's a game changer for them. And it always puts the bid right up at the top. When they don't understand what's going on, it doesn't serve really anyone, and can only serve to confuse, and confused buyers rarely buy. All right, so what do we teach to salespeople, right? There's the moisture scan side. What do we teach to salespeople on this, and why does it matter? I'm not sure if you all can, on your screen, can see this. On my other one, I can see it a little bit better. So these are the differences according to the RAIN group on what the best salespeople do versus the people whose bid finishes second. So they polled the buyers of B2B sales and asked them to list out of 42 to rank them on why they bought, just comparing the winning bid and the second place bid. And these are only 10 of them. Again, this report, I can get this report over to you. It's no problem. It's really fascinating, about 29 pages. But I thought the most interesting was they educated me with new ideas and perspectives. And on the second place finishers, it was 42nd. So it is completely at the opposite end of being able to reposition, help somebody rethink through a commodity buy, which is a little bit of what they're doing here, or a long-term, expensive purchase. They want new ideas. They want new perspectives. The other one is number 10 for me is really interesting. And I think really important to those of us who own businesses is, the overall value from the company is superior to other options. And I think that when you're looking at the actual company being a part of this and being in the top 10, it really does signal that, support to our salespeople and helping our salespeople, be able to offer a distinctive value matters a lot to the buyer. If you all want to scan this, it won't ask you for any information at all. This isn't a hoodwink thing. You literally scan it and it's going to pop the link into your phone just from this study. So the other ones, like, I'm going to get you, I'm not going to, it's a lead capture to some extent, but I would really be interested in talking to you, because this is absolutely my passion. I love this stuff so much, but this one is not. This is really just, I think this is a great study. I think everybody should have it.
He's telling the truth. I just got it. I didn't have to put any info in.
Yeah, right. See? All right. Next. I can't reiterate enough that I believe that this is going to change the industry for the better. I think that the moisture detection side, like, I love the vent. I think the vents where we started, it's really cool. It's a great solution for moisture in the substrate. What we are doing with getting contractors ReDry ready, and the value that we're adding at $0 per month, there is no monthly subscription fee. There's nothing that we're trying to get from you. It's truly, come get this equipment, bring me in to train you on it. I'll train your whole team. You'll be ready to use this equipment and step out onto a roof. We'll do the reports for you. You send me that grid. We'll make the grid for you. I'll make the report for you, or my team will. And we're going to pour into you as a contractor. And I think that in doing that, what we're going to find is that everyone across the nation doing the same moisture detection the exact same way with the same equipment that's calibrated the same way, for the first time in the history of this industry, we're going to be getting a lot of data back that suggests what is wet, where does it get wet, what perimeters of the roof are we on? Like, we can take this data, and we are looking at being able to use all of that to not only help our contractors win, which is the first thing. If you look down here on this last one, I just got a call. They just won the bid that we went out for training on. 60,000 feet, 40 plus buildings by the owner, and they haven't even been in the commercial roofing game for that long. Great guys, huge fan of them, out there doing a moisture scan, and when that on that report, they got a call back 4 months later because he was interested in their solution, but he had that report on the top of his desk because nobody else had offered a moisture report for it. This is the only one he had, and here they are. Here's their company name right on the top. So this is something where we've got a great community forming at no cost. This is just people trying to get better and offer their clients a lot more value. And we really salute that. So done for your reports. Discounted ReDry pricing. So our pricing goes down. If you want our solution, you get less pricing if you're ReDry ready, or you get lower pricing if you're ReDry ready, like 20% less. So if you're talking 10,000 feet, you know, it saves about $5,000. And then a growing network of professionals to be able to pull, you know, knowledge from and to collaborate with. Here's your lead capture. If you know a great fit, or if you're interested in any of this, if you just want to do a deeper dive, I'm right on 28 minutes. So I'm kind of like nailing it on time, actually. So I'm just going to say, if you want, go ahead and scan it. I'm so interested. I think this might go to a, it's possible this goes to a manufacturer website, and you might get an email about specific manufacturer, because I gave this presentation yesterday as well. So I don't know if I've changed around all the automations on it, but if you do, whatever, just, you know, read it, do whatever. But I would love to set an appointment with you and go deeper into it. And Karen, thank you so much for yet another opportunity to talk about this thing that I love.
Yeah, and we've had some questions come in. So I want to go through and have you answer some of those. One is Art is asking if there's a particular system that this is geared for or preferred, like single ply or whatnot.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So yes, this is primarily for low slope, single ply roofing. Yep. So we can, you know, we've been installed on I think pretty much every low slope system out there: gravel BUR, modifieds, TPOs, PVCs. So yeah, any low slope system. We're not designed for metal, and I've gotten the question a couple of times if the moisture detection will work for metal. It does not. It does not work there. The solution, though, that I would recommend to everybody for metal with batt insulation underneath is actually thermography is wonderful for that. Wonderful, because you have this stable temperature inside, and then you have this moisture that's getting hot up against the roof deck. You can go in and scan pretty much any point the batt insulation to locate a leak area with a thermal gun and have a lot of success. So that's my solution for commercial metal.
Okay. And does it work for ballasted roofs? I imagine it would.
Yes, sure does.
Excellent. Okay. So John, I'm going to read your question here, but you may have to hop in and explain if needed. In areas of the country where single ply flutters during the winter is pulling the heat from the building through the insulation joins, the perimeter walls, etc., creating condensation issues, would the fan possibly contribute to the problem in the fall/winter months, or do you see it helping?
Yeah, so it's one of the things, John, where honestly I've been cautious when it comes to, like, we are not loose when we do our warranted installs. If we get into these questions, I like to get engineers involved. We've had a couple things up in South Dakota that brought up some of these when it comes to the building science issue of this. Oftentimes we've been brought in when there's already an issue. So there's already condensation happening, and that's making the insulation wet. We have a couple installs that seems to have alleviated the blistering issue, although I can't speak to whether or not we've impacted the condensation. I will tell you that we don't warrant with condensation. We that is excluded in the warranty that we provide.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the answer, because the more powerful the fan becomes, and the ability for that to kind of create that suction from the building temperature into the system. You may have a balance there, just going through, runs through my mind.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and I want to be. We don't want to cause any issues, right? So the goal would be to look at it and say, do we have enough vapor barrier? Like, none of this is designed to forego good roofing practice. And if there's not a vapor barrier installed in the really cold areas in the attic space properly, or the airspace that they make in between the ceiling and the roof deck, then we could be running into some issues there as well. And, if it's been cut, or somebody was installing lights and they didn't properly seal it, or, all the different things that can go on in those situations. So, yeah.
So you mentioned warranty. Are you talking about we've detected there's a moisture problem. We install the vents to dry it out. What does that warranty look like?
Yeah. So what we warrant is that we will get the roof that we'll get the roof insulation where it is wet to a certain level of dryness. So there's really two ways that we can work with contractors on the vent system side. One is the pre-planning warranty side of things. So we require upfront planning in that bid phase. We have to be involved for the warranty side. The other one is, and the one that's really been received, I mean, they're kind of flying off the shelves, to be honest with you, is we keep jobs moving because the crews can now say, we've got a wet area on this roof, let's mark it and keep going, instead of going to the supply house to get 4 sheets of insulation and fasteners and all this sort of stuff. If it's not on site, or they need to go back to the shop, they can just keep the crews moving. They mark the area and they get a vent from us. That vent comes fully assembled, so it comes with the 2-way vent on it, and they just install it. We leave it for a year, and if you're a ReDry ready contractor, if you're in our network, the shipping's free. If it's not, we just ask that you ship it back when you do your annual maintenance. So schedule your annual maintenance when it's time for it to come off. And in the meantime, please learn how to, actually detect the nuances of moisture and kind of the gradient of, like, is this saturated? Is this damp? Is this lightly wet? Or is this dry? So, like, there's really levels to it that we want to be able to detect with non-destructive testing. And I think that's what our moisture detection does.
Okay, Greg, you have a couple of questions. And you're muted.
Yes,
Okay,
hello,
good.
everybody, and thank you, Adam. That's a great presentation. So something that we were thinking of is, when you have moisture or wet insulation in a roof for a long period of time, it grows mold and mildew and stuff. What's the solution for that?
We don't get involved with, spore growth, right? So we don't get involved with it. The thing I would say is that most of the time where I am down south, you might get it. I found that we get it momentarily, but it gets too hot or too cold at some point throughout the year for it to, have continued growth. And generally, if you can get something dry, you're going to have less of problems, but we don't really speak to it all that much. I know I've got a couple of contractors who promote it with their service department as a way to install one for a year as a solution to help with that if there's been a long-term leak going on. So that's something that they've taken to owners as a reason to do an install, but we don't advertise that we impact it one way or the other.
Okay. And the other question was, have you spoken with all, most manufacturers out there and received positive feedback and approvals that they would incorporate this into their systems?
Yeah. So I have been very intentional with our manufacturers. Every manufacturer that we're working with really likes it. One of the
Who are
things
they?
that I'm
Which ones?
finding, and it's a good problem to have, is that the most value we bring to manufacturers is actually not the vent. It's the ability to get their clients their contractors in a position where they can detect moisture. and they really love the idea of their contractors getting ReDry ready. So they are also approving of the vent and say that this is a solution if you find it, because it really is a two-part, it's a two-part problem. But for our contractors, I'm having to go to a lot of trainings. And so I've kind of stopped, if you want to know the truth, of going and pursuing every manufacturer out there, because I simply don't have the bandwidth at this point to go execute all the trainings.
Yeah.
And
Which manufacturers have you been in contact with that?
Yeah, so right now we have on the coating side, we have TRP, Supreme and Suprema. We have Everest out of Houston, and then Castagra up in the Pacific Northwest in California. We have a couple trials going on with Carlisle in local markets on some building science problems they've had on existing systems where we've found some problems. And in all those cases, we're having success.
Okay. One more question. How many roofs do you have this on, and what's the history so far? How many, like a year, 2 years, 5 years? What have you seen?
So we really took it to my clients starting in late 2020. I put it on 11 of my own roofs. And quite frankly, I didn't have the ability to go scan at that point. I hadn't even considered the front end part of it. But we could just feel it, and it felt dry, right? So we would go from it's soaked and we're pinpricking and we can get water to squirt out to we don't have water squirting out anymore after we coated it. So we had 11 there. I think currently right now we're on 19. I think we're on 19 total across the country. And the results are really good. We've seen this operate, and I swear if any of you all tell tell an owner that it's going to take 3 weeks, like I'm going to pull this recording from YouTube and be like, scroll to whatever minute this is, and where I said it doesn't normally take 3 weeks. But we've seen as little as 3 weeks. And I've seen as much as a year. I've never had anything go past 1 year. So I'm sure we will at some point. But as of today, we have not.
Okay, great. Thanks for the answers. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? All right, Adam. Thank you. That was fantastic. If you want to stick around, I only have like a couple of minutes, but if you want to drop the links that weren't working in your presentation into the chat, then everyone can take a look at that report. That would be awesome. And I will